I failed to add an item, and if we have no objections, can we just briefly discuss the police radios in the building? Is that okay to add it late at this point?
Yep, it's a good
Okay.
idea.
The police radios, I followed up with Chief Weitzel after the board meeting in September when we discussed this for the first time. I sent him the actual clip, this 7 or 10-minute clip that the board spoke about these items, how it was explained, and your comments, questions, etc. Chief Weitzel did get back to me. He had the radio company come again and do another audit. He also had them reevaluate, and there is a way to keep the fire department now off of the repeater system and that they don't need it. So now the total is just back down a little bit. I think it's either slightly over 60 or at 60,000, back to where we were originally when we first met in the summer, not 124 when we received the last minute email. And so what's going to happen now is Chief Weitzel was going to put that in for the grant and see how much of that 60 can be covered by the grant, and then see if there's what's remaining, and then discuss the plan going forward from there. I still presented the question to him that our board feels that we shouldn't be making a move on this until the new 911 center is in place and until all the new technology is in place, and so that we can see how our 4 local municipalities, 5 local municipalities being all on the same bandwidth, how it works with all of them instead of doing it for just one.
Especially because there's a temporary fix, right? According to what you told us before, there's spots where the police wouldn't be able to get to this center, but they could radio somebody outside the building who can radio
All
the
the
center,
departments
right?
can get out of the building to the street.
So another solution is, if they have to come here, is have one policeman stay outside the building with a radio and
Right.
transfer, and that's a lot less than 60,000, while we're waiting to see what the long-term solution is with this combined system, right?
Right. I think at this point we allow him to submit it to the grant and see if he can get it all covered. If that can get all covered and there's no additional cost to the school, it is what it is. If
Well,
there's-
I
if
got to
there's a
tell you, I
cost-
disagree. Why should, whether it's our money, the federal, why should we spend $60,000 for anybody's money? It's still taxpayer money if it's a government grant, to fix something that might only be there for a year, that has a very easy to address interim solution that's free, or virtually free.
Well, one, I'm not the chief, so I'm not sure what he's thinking. 2, I'm thinking his response to your thing would be, if there's an officer coming to the school and an event starts to happen and he tries to call dispatch, he maybe can't wait to get a hold of somebody on the street. So I don't want to, I'm not the expert in that field to be speaking why he continues to push it, but I have been sharing with him, I think our board's position would prefer, before they're asked to make a contribution, to make sure it's going to be one that will last and work for all 4 departments, and we're not doing something as a Band-Aid and then having to readdress it again going forward once the new comms center goes into place.
Since we last spoke to the board, did the chief say that the new comm center won't help this situation? Did he almost rule that out?
He feels that the fiber optics is strictly all for data purposes, not for radio frequency. Now, the board did receive, the board president and I did receive a letter, and I put that, I believe, in the Friday update, an anonymous letter talking about UHF and VHF and how one department's using it and can get out, and when they go to this new comm center, they're all, so I sent a copy of that to the chief and said, I'm sure at some point in time my board will want to, before they make a recommendation, they'll want to have answers on this as well. And so he has that information as well.
So we just wanted to give you a discussion on that topic.
From my understanding, it is he is submitting the grant. So.
Do we have to have them now? I mean, is there a reason why we have to do it right now?
I'm assuming he's trying to get it in under the grant application process, and he feels as a chief that this is something he wants to address, and so that's why I made the comment of saying I can't tell him don't submit the grant. That's
Is
where he's
that what
at.
you're asking about, the grant, or just putting
Yeah.
some equipment in this building?
Putting the equipment in the building, I mean, if we would need, if the possibility is that we can wait a year to do something different.
Well, it's my opinion that the police don't want to wait a day. They want to be able to be in this building, in the deep parts of this building, and be able to communicate to their home base. And that currently can't happen.
But we don't have a history of necessity.
I understand, and I'm not going to speak for the chief or the village, but I think that's where they're coming from. They don't want to wait a year. They would like this equipment in this building now. Is that fair, do you think?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, Laura, he's pursuing it. Let's
Let's
See
see
what
if
he comes
it's gonna be
with.
brought back to us. When it
Okay.
gets brought back to us, we can discuss it.
Yeah.
you know, one of the positives of the board discussions being on TV and us having tapes, as soon as that meeting was over, within a few days, I sent them a clip and said, here was the feedback I got from my board. At this point in time, we're not ready to commit. We'd like for you to, you know, be prepared to look into some of these other options. He called me back and said, I'm gonna come out again with the radio guy and see if we, you know, and then he said there's a way to address the fire department. We're not putting them on this repeater. Okay, so that cut the bill in half. And then he was gonna go back through with Chicago Communications and go through it. You know, the letter that the board, the president and I received, I shared in the Friday update, said that there are other vendors out there. I'm sure we could ask. We have not formally had the chief come or received anything in writing saying we want RB to split this with us, or we're asking for this dollar amount from RB. And that's one thing I think got misconstrued in the article. And so, from my understanding, I have a good relationship with the Riverside Police Department. We work well with them as a school district. I think once he has all his answers and knows what funds are not available or are available from grants, and I would ask that he come and be able to answer to this board some of the questions you have. I'll have him come and answer questions, and present to the board.
And one he needs to address is what solution did the fire department come up with that worked? That apparently didn't cost anything.
Supposedly, they have a 2-channel radio, and their radio, they can use this other channel that can get them out to the dispatch.
Okay.
And listen, I understand, and my reaction is similar to yours in that, wait, 1 minute, you're asking for 120,000, and then within a few days, you find out you can use a different one. So I think he realizes, Tom realizes that he needs to go through a couple other measures with this before he can come with a proposal. So at this time, it's just tabled. I wanted to provide an update.
Yeah, that was a good update.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion now for.
Resolved that the Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois, enters closed session for the purpose of considering appointment, employment, or dismissal of employees, student discipline, sale or lease of land, probable and imminent litigation, and collective negotiations.
Second.
Second, Mr. Walsh. Thank you, Mr. Cindy. As always, does that cover it for us?
Yep.
We'll go for the vote.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Richmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska? Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, that'll conclude the open portion of our meeting. Usual commuting time down to the district office, and the microphone should